But first, your local news.
Straight ahead on 13 News at 10, it's been a draining day for passengers on a train that derailed in Carbondale. We'll show you how they're doing tonight. We'll also bring you the very latest on the investigation with new information in a live report. We have team coverage you'll only see here. 13 News at 10 is on the way.
We heard something like a break, and then a bump, and then like a shake, and that was it.
From the first 911 call to the latest on the investigation, your most complete coverage of the Carbondale train derailment.
This isn't the first time in recent history a train wreck has shattered the silence in the middle of the night, remembering the Rossville derailment.
And the crime shocked the nation. The man accused of dragging a 6-year-old Kansas City child to death was in court today. Hear what he had to say.
From WIBW, this is 13 News at 10.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dana Wright.
And I'm David Oliver. Could a broken piece of rail cause the massive derailment of an Amtrak passenger train?
The NTSB is investigating that very possibility. Just after 2 this morning, 16 cars jumped the tracks just south of Topeka in Carbondale. The train was on its way to Los Angeles from Chicago. Our 13 News team was among the first on the scene. Here's the amazing exclusive video from Carbondale.
We know 5 cars flipped on their sides. 7 others left the tracks completely. More than 30 people were hurt and taken to area hospitals. All were treated and released except for one woman who remains in critical condition tonight. Here are 2 of the 911 calls that came in just moments after the crash.
Dispatch.
Yeah, 911. We're on an Amtrak train heading to Topeka, Kansas, or like 15 minutes outside Topeka, and we just crashed.
Ma'am?
Yeah?
Okay, is there a conductor or anybody there I can talk to?
No, we're in the lounge.
You're in the lounge?
We need to get out of the lounge.
Can you guys find a conductor or something?
No, the doors won't open and we trapped and there's smoke coming out of the car.
Okay, I will contact Amtrak and see if we can locate you, okay?
Okie doke, you're on the computer, Zach.
Now, NTSB investigators have made a massive task ahead trying to figure out what caused the derailment. Tonight, they may have a break in the case.
They sure do. 13's Brooke Bellman is live at the Capitol Plaza Hotel where the NTSB's command center is set up tonight. Brooke, we're hearing about a broken piece of track. What do you have?
That's right. In fact, investigators were talking to us earlier tonight, letting us know a little more. They're just starting to put the pieces together tonight. They have a lot of work ahead of them. And like you said, they did mention 2 sections of a track that you said were fractured. You said you're not ruling anything out at this point. George Black with the NTSB joins us now. Tell us a little bit more about the tracks that you were talking about.
Anytime there's a derailment, we're interested in wheels on the cars and the track itself. Obviously, that's what could most easily cause a derailment. We've not finished inspecting wheels and cars yet, but we did find some pieces of broken rail that look interesting to us, and we will be examining those along with the other track and the wheels on the cars tomorrow.
Is there any way that that fracture could have happened after the accident?
It could have. It could have been a result of the dynamics of the accident itself, or it could have been a precursor. In other words, it could have been the cause. But this is just one more fact out of a large number of facts that we will be collecting in the investigation.
How much longer do you think that investigation will take?
We'll probably be on scene 2, 3, 4 more days, depending on what we find.
All right, thanks for joining us tonight, George. I know you've had a long night. So as you can see, they've got a lot of pieces to put together yet. In the meantime, the stranded passengers, they're just trying to get home, and as you can bet, some of them not by train. After an exhausting night, the next step for these passengers, home. And Amtrak's letting them choose how to get there.
We listen to them. We ask them, what they'd like to do, and we bend over backwards to do as much as possible.
Stranded passengers headed to the Days Inn, where the Red Cross handed them a fresh change of clothing and a hot meal. It's also where victims set up new travel arrangements, and one mom promises she's not getting on any train.
I'm going to fly home because it's too traumatic for my kids to get on the train.
Understand why some of those passengers didn't want to get on a train tonight, but many of them did. In fact, we're told by Amtrak officials that about 90 of them were bused to Kansas City tonight. That's where they got on another train to get home. Others rented cars, and some, of course, were taken to KCI for flights home. No matter what the mode of transportation, though, we are told that most of them are on their way home tonight.
Some good news there, Brooke. And again, the very latest, they're looking at a broken piece of track.
That's what we know so far, and that's about it.
Absolutely. Thank you for that latest piece of information, Brooke. Those passengers, as you heard, are headed home about 18 hours after jolting awake to the sound of screeching steel.
13 News photojournalist Eric Ives was among the first on the scene. In fact, Eric was able to use his camera light to help rescuers get victims out. Here's our Sandra Levis with a look at how this all started.
We heard something like a break, and then a bump, and then like a shake.
Passengers were sound asleep when this Amtrak train derailed.
It was just a big jolt, and I was thrown across the car.
It sounded like a big piece of rail or something underneath the train, and it was rolling back through the train.
The accident happened just before 2 o'clock this morning in the small town of Carbondale, Kansas. 6 cars flipped on their sides.
Our train was actually airborne, but he brought it back down on the track. But what happened is it separated the other cars.
It was a train coming from Chicago to L.A.
155 people were on board heading to Los Angeles. Some managed to walk away from the wreckage. Many were trapped inside as emergency crews rushed to their aid.
It runs the gamut of all kinds of traumatic injuries, fractures, cuts, bumps, bruises.
NTSB officials are on the scene to investigate what went wrong with this journey. In the meantime, passengers feel fortunate everyone survived this rough ride.
I feel lucky. Real lucky.
From the scene, uninjured passengers loaded onto buses and headed to Carbondale Elementary. That's one other command center. And believe it or not, one of those buses wrecked on the way there. No one was hurt, though. Now, at the school, passengers were able to change clothes, warm up, and get a bite to eat. Many of them still shocked about what has happened today.
And then it was screeching, and it fell over, and my window broke open, and all these rocks started to pile in. And my blanket and stuff was all buried under rocks and stuff, and somehow I got on top of them, so I got a big goose bump right here, big bump right here, and I got cuts all over my legs.
At first people were hollering, and once everybody calmed down, and we said, I think we can get out, just everybody calm down, people started working together and getting people out.
Now here is a recap of what we know about the derailment tonight. Again, that Amtrak passenger train en route from Chicago to Los Angeles left the tracks at about 2 o'clock this morning. 16 cars derailed in Carbondale, 5 of them passenger cars. 155 were on board. Of the 32 passengers taken to area hospitals, 1 remains in critical condition tonight. Finally, the NTSB is investigating a possible rail fracture in connection with the derailment. When you see the images from this early morning train derailment, you can't help but remember the deadly Union Pacific derailment near Rossville. It was July of 1997. Residents also woke up to a ferocious crash after 2 trains crashed on the tracks. The entire town was evacuated in the middle of the night amidst fears that train had hazardous chemicals on board. The train's conductor was killed in the wreck. Investigators found he fell asleep on the job.
It is now time for your first cast, and Dave Relihan's here. Feels more like a real return to winter versus that spring stuff we had.
It certainly does. You know, we were getting used to temperatures in the 70s, almost getting real close to talking about the heat index.
Yeah.
Not quite. Well, now we have the wind chill to factor back into the equation across the plains. We do have, at the present time, quite a bit of a cloud cover and still rain running from Kansas City down to north of Oklahoma City. Snow's working its way out of Colorado, and it's headed our way. It looks like some of those more significant snows are going to fall in southwest Kansas, with accumulations possible in south central and southeastern Kansas. This storm system has a pretty good punch to it, coming first in the form of severe thunderstorms, then the second punch will come in the form of snow. So don't be surprised if you see that falling here tomorrow morning. May even linger into late morning to around noon. Some of the heavier rains right now east of Emporia, also to the west of Chanute in eastern Kansas. Had a high today of 54. We are at the low of 37. 0.63 of an inch of rain has fallen so far. Early tomorrow morning, a mixture of rain and snow, with most of that over with by noon. A little sunshine expected by 3 p.m., but temperatures not very warm, and the wind chills will still be a factor. We'll have a look at that coming up in weather.
All right, thank you, Dave. And we are back with more local news in 60 seconds.
The Feist Northeast Kansas telephone directory is coming soon. What's in it for you?
I've been in several of the Feist books since 1992. They've always been very professional to work with.
I'd recommend Feist to any business.
It's just the most complete book. It's got everything you need.
Advertising in this Feist book has played a tremendous part in our success.
I've got 2 locations and I get about 9,000 Feist coupons a year.
I'm glad they're coming to Topeka.
The Feist Northeast Kansas telephone directory is coming. There's much more in it for you.
It's the longest-lasting full-size pickup with overall the most powerful line of engines. And now that the 2001 model is available with a higher output 5.9-liter Cummins diesel, you know this truck is really going to clean up. Dodge Ram, now with a $1,000 cash allowance on 2000 models.
You're watching 13 News on WIBW, where news comes first.
The man accused of dragging to death a 6-year-old Kansas City child says he is not guilty.
You'll recall this scene in Kansas City last month when 6-year-old Jake Rebel was dragged to his death after his mother's car was hijacked. 34-year-old Kim Davis is accused of the crime. Davis entered his not guilty plea today on murder, robbery, and kidnapping charges. If convicted, Davis could get the death penalty.
A Florida murder suspect is behind bars in northeast Kansas tonight after an 8-hour standoff with authorities. This one started just after midnight in Junction City, about 60 miles west of Topeka. Authorities say 29-year-old William Stroba took his wife and her young son hostage at a Junction City motel after allegedly beating an acquaintance to death in Florida. Officers closed off several blocks and eventually talked Stroba out. He will stay at the Geary County Jail overnight before being extradited to Florida. In other news now, a 6th person is charged today in connection with the fatal shooting of an Oskaloosa teen. 13-year-old Cody Back was killed in his home February 27th. Now, 26-year-old Marty Fiddler faces 2 counts of furnishing alcohol to a minor. She's accused of giving beer to 2 teens who were present at the time of the shooting. Both of those boys have also been charged for the crime. So have the victim's mother and her boyfriend. Police found guns and drugs in the home during their investigation.
President Clinton is once again mounting another offensive to get lawmakers to pass tougher gun control laws. This is World Watch. The president is again calling on Congress to pass new gun legislation, including background checks for gun show sales. Clinton is accusing the National Rifle Association of tying up the process. Meanwhile, Republicans are blasting the president, claiming the Clinton administration's energy policy is to blame for your recent huge hikes in gasoline prices. 2 19-year-old American women were shot and killed in Costa Rica this weekend. Police discovered their bodies Monday along a highway. They were nude or partially nude and had been shot. So far, police have no motives or suspects. The next time you see a baby bed in a store, catalog, or online, look closely. It's safer. Retailers have now agreed to show the beds as they should appear in your own home. That means eliminating soft and ornate bedding, which could cause an infant to suffocate. You think our weather's bad here? Be glad you're not in Minnesota. Winter has hit Duluth, dumping 8 inches of the white stuff on the city. It's so far enough to close many schools, the first time that's happened this entire school year. And that's a look at your World Minute tonight.
A cold, dreary night around northeast Kansas, and a reminder winter isn't quite over.
Sure isn't. Here's a live city view from Eagle Eye 13 tonight. Your complete chilly forecast with Dave Relihan coming up next.
What could you do with an extra $4,700? Well, during Chrysler's National Minivan Savings Event, get 0.9 financing for 60 months for over $4,700 in finance savings. Only your Chrysler Plymouth dealer has this offer and this selection of minivans. So indulge yourself. Or not. Only Chrysler offers 0.9 financing for 60 months on all 2000 minivans.
At Mattress Warehouse, you'll find the world's best mattresses. Sealy, Serta, and Simmons. Names you've known and trusted for years. You'll find other great sleep products like futons, bunk beds, soft side water beds, brass and iron beds, day beds, wood beds, and more. At Mattress Warehouse, we provide free financing, immediate delivery, and free setup and removal. If you haven't seen us lately, you haven't seen us at all. Mattress Warehouse. There's absolutely no reason to shop anywhere else.
To show a child you care, just ask. Ask for his opinion. Ask who his favorite band is. Ask his name. And when he learned to whistle. Ask a child, and you'll both find answers. It only takes a moment. but it lasts a lifetime. For 150 simple ways to help a child grow up healthy, call or visit the website. The Kansas Health Foundation reminds you to ask. There's no question how much it helps.
Winning has us rocking. The Golden Eagle has paid out more progressive jackpots than any other casino in Kansas, from $342,000 to our winner of over $2 million. Then start on a roll with our table games, from craps to blackjack.
Have a little luck of the green on St. Patrick's Day at the Golden Eagle Casino with cash giveaways and a special St. Pat's buffet.
It's a short drive to excitement. The Golden Eagle Casino. Go where the winners go. 13 News is brought to you by Martinick and Flynn.
Boy, grab that scarf and those gloves tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I went home for supper, grabbed the coat on the way back. It is cold out there. Wind chills running in the teens across northern Kansas right now. Eagle Eye 13 not showing the wind chill out there. Not showing much in the way of precipitation either, though the streets are still moist and damp, as we do have a little bit of light rain in the area. Our temperature has fallen back to 37 degrees. The humidity up to 87%. The winds north at 17, gusting to 25, giving us a wind chill factor of 17 right now, with the pressure at 3014, and that is rising. Our WeatherNet site tonight takes us to Marysville Elementary, where the wind chill is running in the lower 20s with a temperature of 37. Nothing has fallen as far as precipitation is concerned in Marysville. The winds there out of the north, and they're rather brisk and will be throughout the nighttime hours. The temperatures right now in the 20s across Nebraska, into western Kansas and eastern Colorado, while we have temperatures still hanging around the 30s to around 40 degrees over eastern Kansas. Still warm, though, in Oklahoma City. This cold front really hasn't made its punch into the Sooner State just yet. Highs today generally in the 50s over most of Kansas. However, Chanute managed 71 degrees out ahead of the cold front that has been responsible for a round of severe weather tonight from southern Kansas down into northern Oklahoma. Numerous reports of damaging winds and a couple of tornadoes in north central Oklahoma earlier this evening. That activity continues right along the front. It's kind of got hung up right now in northern Oklahoma with the cold air just piling up now across the northern plains and working its way into northern Kansas. High pressure will ensure that temperatures will be running below normal for tomorrow and into Friday. The rain's heaviest right now from just north of Fort Scott back into the south central sections of the state, with some of the heavier showers and thunderstorms in Oklahoma right there, and then they weaken. Now to the west, we have an expanding area of snow. This is really the upper level storm system making its way into the Rockies. Heavy snow is expected in southern and southeastern Colorado. Also for southwestern Kansas, we'll see snows across southern Kansas tomorrow morning before it comes to an end tomorrow afternoon. Lows tonight, well, we're going to drop into the 30s, and we're not going to warm up much with cloud cover around tomorrow and a northeast breeze. It'll hold temperatures down. Precipitation tomorrow evening and afternoon, mainly in the form of rain across the southern plains and generally out of our picture. Our highs tomorrow back in the 30s, maybe a 40-degree reading along the Nebraska border, where we'll see a little bit better chance for sunshine tomorrow afternoon. Colder with light rain, changing over to light snow late tonight. Our low drops down to 32. Mostly cloudy, cold, and breezy tomorrow with a high of only 40. We will have light snow around early in the morning, but most of the day will be dry. Friday, after a low of 23, we'll see a cold high of 48 degrees, or a cool high of 48 degrees. Then for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, the warming trend takes us to 70 degrees by Tuesday. Morning lows getting out of the mid-20s, warming to the mid-40s, and looks like we'll be dry through that period, but rain is just around the corner. So as you head out the door tomorrow, grab a coat and keep it closed.
The road shouldn't be too bad in the morning.
Not here. Now, in southwestern Kansas, that's a different story. They'll have probably up to 6 inches of snow in some parts of southwest Kansas.
Glad we're not there, Dave. Thank you. In tonight's Medical Breakthroughs report, this man was told he only had 6 months to live. Now, nearly 2 years later, he feels stronger than ever. We'll show you why coming up.
Studio monitors provided by Kief's Audio and Video in Lawrence.
Watching the finals is exciting, but you want something to get crazy about? The Tournament Time Truck event at Nissan. Drive the 2000 Frontier Crew Cab, the first compact pickup in America with 4 real doors. Or the 2000 Frontier Desert Runner V6. Buy a 2000 Frontier with value truck package and cash back on select Frontiers for up to $2,100 in total savings. Plus, get 5.9 APR on any Frontier during the Tournament Time Truck event at your nearest Nissan retailer today. Ends March 31st. Nissan Driven.
This 3,000 horsepower locomotive engine is strong, safe, and trustworthy. 50 years ago, a small group of Santa Fe shop employees had these same goals for the financial organization they founded, Super Chief Credit Union. While other financial institutions have come and gone, Super Chief is still locally owned and offers a full range of financial services to its 16,000 members statewide. For 50 years, Super Chief Credit Union has served the interest of hard-working families. Come join us.
Long John Silver's battered to fish and shrimp. Oh, that's right. You're not easily tempted. Even though it's hot and crispy, light and flaky, and so good.
Long John Silver's Fish and More, Shrimp and More, and Fish and Shrimp and More. Honest to goodness meals, only $3.99. Long John Silver's. How fast can you get here?
Open house this weekend at Anderson Enterprises, our new store at 5050 South Topeka. We have the biggest and best service department. See our new parts store and look at the high-low trailers, up or down in 12 seconds. It's slick. And pulling this is the best part. Don't forget about our Carry Light, Nomad, Rockwood, and Signature trailers and fifth wheels. It's open house time at Anderson Enterprises, 5050 South Topeka. And bring the family.
You're watching 13 News on WIBW, where news comes first.
It causes pain and discolored skin, and by the time pancreatic cancer is diagnosed, it's often too late.
Now researchers are testing a drug, though, that not only stops the cancer, but it has nearly wiped it out in some patients. Here's the story in tonight's Medical Breakthroughs report.
Birds.
55-year-old Richard Jones enjoys a sunny afternoon with his wife, Brenda. Not too long ago, he was too tired and weak to even get out of bed.
I went to the doctor, and they told me it was a urinary tract infection. They gave me some pills and sent me home.
A couple of days later, Richard learned he would have to face the same disease that killed his father, pancreatic cancer.
I was diagnosed in June of 1998, and I was on 2 different kinds of chemo for 6 months, each one.
Were your friends?
The disease continued to spread. Then Richard found Dr. Robert Reynolds, who is involved in a nationwide study. He's testing a drug called Ruby-Tecan, an oral chemotherapy.
We've seen in several people evidence that the cancers have diminished in size, and occasionally we've seen some people in whom the cancer has almost disappeared.
Dr. Reynolds says this experimental drug has stopped Richard's cancer from growing, and instead of spending hours in a doctor's office, he takes 2 pills 5 days a week.
First chemo he was on, he was sick for 4 or 5 days at a time. He'd stay on the sofa, and with the new drug, he's just his old self.
During an earlier study involving 60 patients, more than 30% responded. The median survival rate was increased from about 6 months to 16 months.
For him to be a healthier person now than he was a year ago is nothing short of astounding.
God sent this to me, I know for sure, that through His grace, He worked a miracle.
The company that makes Ruby-Tecan anticipates FDA approval in the year 2001. It's being tested at 200 sites nationwide. If you'd like more information and a written transcript, write to Medical Breakthroughs. Live longer with pancreatic cancer. Send us a self-addressed stamped envelope to Box 119 here in Topeka, 66601.
Just ahead, we're on the eve of the big dance. Mark Ewing provides tonight's road to the Final Four installment.
Including a look at Kansas and what's in store for Friday. 13 Sports is next.
How can you get higher yields from your Roundup Ready soybeans? Use Touchdown, the powerful herbicide for over-the-top control of tough annual and perennial grasses and broadleaf weeds in Roundup Ready soybeans. Its unique patented technology quickly penetrates even hard-to-control weeds. Once inside, it moves clear down to the roots for complete control. Tell your local retailer you prefer Touchdown. Better weed control, better yields.
In the wee
early hours of Wednesday morning.
The derailment happened just before 2 o'clock this morning.
The 13 News team was hard at work.
I was thrown across the car.
First on the scene again, with exclusive satellite coverage and pictures no one else had. The #1 news team, the #1 television station. 13 News, where news comes first, again.
Ford Focus is one of Car and Driver's 10 best. Ford Focus. Automobile of the Year. North American Car of the Year. Ford Focus, starting around $12,600, now with 4.9 financing. 3 different models to put your life in focus. Ford Focus. Only at your Midwest Ford dealer.
Hi, I'm Smitty. I guess you could call me a plethora of information. For this, you're gonna need a blower, maybe a vac. Customers look at me as the answer guy. If they've got a question, they need an answer, they come to me. All you need here is a cordless push mower. I'm gonna give you everything you need to take care of your yard. Tractor, definitely the lawn tractor. We've got everything you could possibly imagine in power tools, all kinds of stuff. String trimmer. I'm basically here to make sure the customer gets what he needs for the job.
The Home Depot, where low prices are just the beginning.
The Road to the Final Four report brought to you by Marling's Home Furnishings. During Marling's remodeling sale, look for the yellow under construction tags for the lowest unadvertised special prices.
Jayhawks are on their way, and Roy's on his way back home, so to speak.
Yeah, he is back to the Carolinas, where I'm sure he'll be asked whether he's going to be the next head coach of Carolina everywhere he goes, especially in the Carolina. That's a hot topic. Yeah. But this, we're talking about the tournament, and just because you're good during the regular season doesn't mean you are a good tournament team. At least, if you were to ask me, that's what I think. The Jayhawks' run through the league and into the tournaments hasn't been consistent in this decade. In fact, playing poorly in the league tournament has related to success in the NCAAs for whatever reason. Just look it up. Coach Roy Williams, however, doesn't think there's a relationship between the two.
I've always thought, believed, and will to the day I put me in the ground that you work as hard as you can and try to do the best you can every day. And at the end of the year, if you've done that properly, you're going to be better than you were at the start of the year. I don't think there's any doubt about that in my mind. If anybody wants to argue that, then they're going to have a tough time winning that argument. There is something to the fact that in tournament play you have to understand it's you're not building for the future. You play your tail off that day, because if you don't, you lose and you go home.
Kansas is already in Winston-Salem tonight. They'll practice and answer questions late tomorrow afternoon. Meanwhile, the latest medical report on guard Marlon London says there is a 70% chance that the sprained ankle will not keep him out of Friday's game. Also, Nick Collison's bruised back has slowed him, but he is a go for DePaul. We are just a little over 12 hours away before Game 1, and fittingly, a Big 12 representative is involved in it. Oklahoma and Winthrop are among the first games. Speaking of the league, Iowa State and Texas are also ready to go. Here's a sampling from their newsers.
The first thing that I saw is that they played very hard. They're a very well-coached team, and I think they're going to be ready to compete against us.
Before you know it, we won 2 games. We're in the Sweet 16, and I think that's the way you should approach it. After last year's quick exit and my experience my freshman year, I realized that a team that's nervous is a team that usually ends up losing.
Every guy at every position, can rebound the ball and can shoot the ball or can drive the ball. So they're a team that's a lot like us, and we're gonna play them with the most utmost respect.
Oklahoma and Winthrop is 11:10 a.m. Our Thursday schedule is in a flex mode, meaning it will switch between that game and anything the network so chooses. Then the Iowa State versus Central Connecticut State game is afterward. The Big 12 gets an early start with Texas playing an 11:40 game against Indiana State. Former Indiana Hoosier guard Neil Reed has accused Bobby Knight of choking him. The CNN report has caused a stir among those in the basketball profession.
You want. I mean, it doesn't matter what people call it. I call it choking. If you put your hands around someone's throat, I mean, there's no other reason why you would.
That's just his way of expressing himself. Some guys can put up with it and some guys can't.
People came in to separate us like we were in a schoolyard going to fight. And that, you know, I actually have respect for adults, and I certainly have respect for coaches, and that certainly wasn't the case. But I wasn't going to let him hold me by the throat long or squeeze hard.
Knight told WIBW-TV out of Indianapolis that, quote, he has probably grabbed every player that's ever played for me at one time or another, and I've coached that way for 36 years.
No favorites.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. We're back after this.
The perfect way to break out this spring is behind the wheel of a new Ford. Like a new four-door Ford Ranger. Lease one now for only $185 a month with an automatic transmission, AC, and four-wheel drive. Fun just got a whole lot easier to find with a new Ranger. Now's your time. This is your chance. Get to your Midwest Ford dealer today.
Ruggles' new little bitty rugby is kind of wild, but so is this deal. Carpet your living room, dining room, and hallway for the low price of just $599. No payment, no interest for a full year. And our exclusive kit and caboodle pricing includes top quality carpet, pad installation, plus free measuring, free furniture moving, our famous Carpet One guarantee, and we'll even haul off your old carpet. Don't miss the Wild Dog of Carpet One sale. It won't last long, and if this little guy stays like this, neither will I.
I've never heard of mushroom jack fajitas.
Well, first we combine. And then we...
Grilled chicken, sauteed mushrooms, Monterey Jack cheese, and smoky bacon. New Chili's Mushroom Jack Fajitas.
Okay, then. Mushroom jack fajitas.
Eat to the beat of a different drum.
At McDonald's, we put extra zest into seasoning our biggest, beefiest burger. We go the extra mile with thick sliced tomato and fresh whole leaf lettuce. We take extra care chopping the fresh onions. We even think big about exactly where to put the ketchup and mayo. Why? Because you have big expectations that can only be satisfied by the new Big Extra. Introducing the extraordinarily big taste of the new Big Extra. Where? Did somebody say McDonald's?
You're watching 13 News on WIBW, where news comes first.
And a quick look at your 8-day forecast.
Colder will be the word for tomorrow. Then we see a warming trend that will take us from the upper 40s for highs on Friday to 70 degrees by next Tuesday. Chance for light snow early tomorrow and thunderstorms possible next Wednesday and Thursday.
All right, once again tomorrow we'll bring you the latest on the Carbondale train. You know what they're saying at this point tonight. Perhaps a broken piece of rail line may have been a partial cause in that. So keep it right here for the latest tomorrow.
That is it for us tonight. David Letterman is up next. We will see you back here tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you for making 13 News the area's #1 newscast, watched by more people than all other Topeka newscasts combined.